Welcome, Disney Infinity fans, and thanks for joining me on this Toy Box build series of a Death Ray. This was inspired, of course, by the scene in Star Wars Episode 4 when Alderaan was destroyed by the Death Star. This is part 2 of the tutorial series, but if you missed part 1, just click on the link on the screen. Well, let's jump right back in where we left off after part 1. So let's start with our connection on our player input. So our button, when it's pressed, we want to connect it to Logic Gate 2. It's in position 2, and that's an input. So when that button's pressed, we're going to input into Logic Gate 2. Now our bar, when our bar is pulled down, we then want an input into Logic Gate 1. And from our ability terminal, new connection here, when it's hacked, we're going to send an input into Logic Gate 3. Okay, let's take a look at our logic gates now. We'll start with Logic Gate 1. Create an output. Run that to our ability terminal, and we're going to activate the terminal. Next, we're going to use this logic gate to deactivate our radar marker. So an output to the radar marker. Then the last connection we need runs to the repeater. We're going to turn the repeater on. Now we'll go to Logic Gate 2, and we'll start, we need a logic connection there that's going to connect to our radar marker. We need to activate our radar marker. Now our next output, we're going to connect to our replayer. We'll send an output signal there to start playback for the replayer. This is the way we bring our planet back after it's been destroyed. And the last output from Logic Gate 2 is going to go right back to the ability terminal, and we need to deactivate the terminal. Now Logic Gate 3 basically is going to start almost all of our explosions and effects. So there's going to be 6 outputs from Logic Gate 3. And we're going to start by starting the time delay on time delay 3. Next, we're going to go to Effects Generator 5, and this is what's going to generate our subtle sparkle for our locator that's connected to our path. This is a looped effect, so we want to play that looped. Then we're going to have an output that goes to time delay 1, and we're going to start that delay. You can see how it helps having these all aligned in order. And now we want an output that's going to go to our sound effects. We're going to connect to our sound effects, and that's going to be under General and Rocket Blast Off. Find it in here somewhere. Rocket blast off. There it is. Now we'll have another output, and we're going to run that output to effects generator 1. And we want to play the effect one time, play once, and it's going to be a spark burst. And the last thing we want to do is make a connection to turn our repeater off. Now we need to connect our radar marker to locator 5. So we're going to do a new locator connection and connect that to locator 5. What is our repeater going to do? It needs to repeat the sound when we power up the weapon. So we want a new logic connection, and we're going to repeat. Then we're going to connect that to the sound effects. And in the sound effects, we want to go to Action and choose Force Field Pulse. Now we need to connect our effects generators to our locators. Our locators will be the position where the effects take place. Connect effects generator 1 to locator 1. We're going to connect effects generator 2 to locator 3. And effects generator 3 is going to go to locator 2. And then both effects generators 4 and 5 are going to go to locator 4. Now we need to connect our time delays. I'm going to time delay 1, and when the delay is completed, we want to go to our replayer, and we're going to clear the replayer. What happens here is when that replayer is cleared, the planet will go away. So in back of that explosion, when it clears, there'll be no planet destroyed. Now we need to go to our delay 2. And we're going to run that to effects 3, and we're going to play once its explosion, and its huge explosion. This is the explosion that will go off when the planet is destroyed. Now we're going to go to our delay 3. Let me check our other delays. I'll lose track here. Delay 3, and when the delay is completed, we're going to go to our sound effects under Actions and do a power blast. Is basically what's going to happen when the weapon is fired, a power blast. And we're going to need another output from that same delay. And that is going to go to our path creator. That's the green path creator. And we've already set that. And we want to reset and play. So when we fire the weapon, it's going to reset, and then that locator is going to go along the path. Our delay 4, when the delay is completed, we want another sound effect, and that's under action, and that's sustained explosion. This is a great explosion because it sustains itself for a while, so it kind of gives a massive explosion. In our time delayer 5, when that delay is completed, we want to go to Path Creator, and then we're going to reset and stop the Path Creator. Checking all our delays to make sure they're all connected, and they are. That's great. Now we're going to go to our path point, and there's a lot of outputs from our path point. When that locator reaches the end of the path, it's going to set off a lot of things. The first one, when the point is reached by object on the path, we're going to go to time delayer 4 and start the delay. You'll see that we start a lot of delays from this end of path. This is also why I left the blocks. It's an easy way to see where I have to go back to my path point each time. Now we're going to set another output, and again it's going to be when the point is reached by the object on the path. We're then going to go back to time delayer 2 and start that delay. And then our last output to a time delayer, again, it's going to be output point reached by object on the path. And it's going to go to time delayer 5. And we're going to start time delayer 5. Now our next output from the path point is going to be to an effects generator. So again, it's going to be an output, point reached by object on a path, and it's going to go to effects generator 4. In effects generator 4, we're going to play once. It's going to be under explosions, and it's going to be a green energy explosion. This is basically the initial explosion when the locator on the path hits the planet. So it's kind of subtle, but it indicates that it's been hit. And then our next one is going to go to effects generator 2, And that's going to be play once, explosions, and flaring explosion. This is the explosion where it kind of rings out. It rings out and looks great before the final explosion. Again, that is 2, play once. And it's the flaring, go back up, flaring explosion. It also has a nice little flare with spikes coming out, so it looks like there's something happening internal in the planet before it finally explodes. Now the last output, when it's point reached by object, is going to go to sound effects, and that's under action, and that's going to give us the sound for our huge explosion. And we want to look for action, and then we're going to use large explosion. Alright, that sets our sound effects. Well, that's a wrap for part 2 of this tutorial series. Stay tuned for our next episode as we'll continue with the Death Ray. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a like. It really will help in building the community for this great game. Oh, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified as soon as I post new videos. Well, that's it for now. See you next time, and have a magical day.